We have very little time to do season 14 videos while they are still topical, so let's get right into this nonsense. As you can see from the title of this video, I'm about to talk about why I think season 14, while good, was basically a filler season. But before I do that, I want to give a shout out to all of my supporters on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for helping me out. Again, you have no idea how helpful you're being this month, and you're going to be the next month for being there. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so why do I think that this season was a filler season? The obvious first joke to go for is to mention Kerri Colby's face, but we're not gonna do that. I'm saying that here just to get it out of the way. It's a filler season for many reasons. Firstly, the amount of filler episodes that it has. Secondly, the timing of airing regarding the other seasons. Next, the repeated storylines. And lastly, the finale having a top 5. Before this video, I was supposed to release my Who Should Have Won Season 14 video, but I realized that for a section of that video, I would have to do the entirety of this for it to make sense. So this is basically like a required viewing for before that video. Did that make sense? I don't know. I hope it did. I'm especially talking about the first point that I brought up, the sheer amount of filler episodes in this season. So TV Tropes defines filler episodes as entries in a generally continuous serial that are unrelated to the main plot, don't significantly alter the relations between the characters, and generally serve only to take up space. This could be considered padding, the addition of scenes to lengthen a story, applied to a whole franchise by creating brand new episodes. You may think that this cannot apply to a reality competition show like Drag Race, given that it's supposed to represent reality. However, as we are all well aware, reality shows do not show reality. Furthermore, we cannot even talk about the first part of this definition regarding modern Drag Race, because they suck when it comes to doing proper season-long arcs. Hell, the closest thing that we got to an arc this season was with Jasmine, Kennedie, and Daya, neither of which had a chance of winning the season. We also know that these newer seasons are longer because longer seasons mean more sponsors, more time for ads, and more opportunity for outside endorsements. So a lot of these episodes are just there to take up space. Lastly, with the amount of double shantays, queens coming back, queens being saved by the production, etc., there were many episodes that were unrelated to the main plot, the plot here being the competition. Let's take a look at the timeline of the season with my trusty table. So this season had 16 episodes, one which was the reunion and one which was the non-competitive finale. If anybody says that the finale was competitive, explain how Daya was not in the top 2 with Camden. Exactly. There were 12 episodes for queens to compete in, but for us, the viewers, those were actually 14 episodes. However, out of those episodes, firstly, episodes 7, 9, 12, and 14 had no elimination. Next, episodes 10's results came in episode 11, so that isn't necessarily a filler, but the season was prolonged because of the decision to put everyone in the bottom, which was not a fair ruling. We'll talk about it. Lastly, the first 2 episodes of the season are also obsolete due to the fact that the 2 eliminated queens from those episodes were brought right back in episode 3. These 7 episodes that I talked about do not have to be filler episodes mandatorily, but given that the winner of the season in Willow was not the focal point of any of them, does make them filler. To make matters worse, the queens that were mostly focal points of said episodes were the only 2 legitimate competitors for the crown in that finale, Angeria and Lady Camden. Also, my opinion is that most of these filler episodes did not have to be filler, and that also they were the best episodes of the season. The premieres were good, all things considered, albeit too long. Daytona Wind is the season's best episode alongside Moulin Rouge. Both episodes were the runner-up in Lady Camden 1, and won by a mile. Basically, the filler made the season's outcome illogical, while at the same time, the filler was the most enjoyable part of the season, which is bad. So after this section, I was supposed to talk about the what if the season had not had so many filler episodes, but that part of the script turned out to be the largest part of the said script. So I'm going to make it a separate video that is going to come out after this one, probably a day or so after, I'm not sure. Hopefully I'll be able to edit it in time. So if you want to see that, please do subscribe, have your notifications on, and yeah, you'll get that when I finish it. Now, let's continue with the video. During the airing of season 14, 2 seasons premiered, while another was announced. Those seasons were the UK vs. the World season, Drag Race España season 2, and lastly, All Stars 7. Let's be honest. All 3 of these seasons, at least on paper, are more exciting than season 14. UK vs. the World is the first of its kind, and with the way that the season went, it definitely pulled focus from season 14. Drag Race España is simply a fantastic season from a fantastic spin-off, I would say the show's best spin-off. So whoever watched season 1 most probably gravitated more towards it than season 14. And for a good reason. Lastly, season 14 did not even end, and All Stars 4 had already been announced. The last part and the finale of that season was overshadowed by the stellar copy of Survivor Winners at War, and not so stellar casting. Basically, whoever at WoW Presents was coming up with the schedule of the seasons airing alongside the networks that were and are airing them, clearly had no faith in season 14, so it made it a filler season. Maybe that's why there were so many filler episodes. You know, so that we didn't get winded from so much Drag Race. Now, even if that were the case, that still means that season 14 was used not only to earn RuPaul and co more money, but to also either be a palate cleanser, or worse, something that we can watch and realize how much better the other 2 seasons are, or how good the All-Star season would be, and now that I'm recording this after it has premiered, is. Back in the day, I made a video about Drag Race repeating storylines, whether it be through editing or through casting the same or similar queens. Now, I've noticed they did it again for season 14. I talked about this in one of Top RPDR videos streams that I really enjoyed doing, so you might have heard me talk about this there. If you were watching it, I recommend you do go watch it, it was really fun. But essentially, 3 queens from season 14's top 5 match Drag Race UK season 3's top 3 queens' storyline. Did that make sense? If not, I'll explain it. Willow was presented as Ru's favorite, who had a strong start but kind of fizzled out by the end of the competition. She may not have been the best competitor, but due to the fact that she was RuPaul's favorite and that the fan base was behind her, she was chosen as the winner, much like Krystal. On the other hand, we had a queen who was the season's best competitor, who, whenever she won, did it by a mile, but who was sadly underedited in the first couple of episodes for some reason. And for UK3 that was Vaday, and for season 14 that was Lady Camden. Kitty's storyline of the confessionals queen that the audience loved, that was somewhere in between the other 2 in the competition, that was consistently good but never really had her episode to shine, doesn't exactly match anyone in the top 5, but we can equate some of her edit to that of Bosco's and some of it to Angeria's. UK3's top 3 was quite beloved, so it's no surprise that the editors of Drag Race US would borrow from the UK seasons with the way that they edited some of their queens here. However, there isn't much authenticity to this season, further making it a filler in my mind. I mean, listen, the last time that a strategic queen won was when Yvie won season 11, and before that it was Jinkx Monsoon on season 5. Willow, Yvie, and Jinkx all came onto their seasons playing a game. Jinkx's was very impressive and was first of its kind, and was the first that worked, as was Yvie's, given that Yvie was also the odd one out visually, with her drag, but Willow sadly pales in comparison. And so does her winning storyline, because it feels like we've simply seen this before. The last point I want to make is about the fact that this season had a top 5, and it also relates to the previous point of repeated storylines. Cast your minds back to season 13, and the whole nonsense that was the winning queens and the losing queens from the first episode, and think how that affected the season. The winning team was almost exclusively favored, while the losing team was fed to the wolves. Rosé, who was in the losing team, who killed the competition, came to the finale, and we all knew that she wouldn't end up winning it, but that the winner would be one of the 3 queens from the winning circle. More or less the same thing happened here. In the season's first 2 episodes, the queens that placed above safe, or, we could consider them as the winning queens, were Lady Camden, Bosco, Willow, Angeria, Cornbread, and Jorgeous. The first 4 were all in the season's finale. Cornbread was heavily pushed to be liked and likable to the audience, And Jorgeous, well, you know, she received maybe the most favoritism we've had in a while. You can throw Kerri into the mix there too, as she won the mini challenge in her first episode, and she was also pushed to be the center stage of the season, even though she wasn't much of a competitor. Again, guys, we're watching a competition. What I'm trying to say is that essentially with this division, they made yet another winning team and yet another losing team, without actually labeling it that because of the backlash that they got last time. Daya fought her way to that finale, and so yet again, only one person that the production did not handpick to be in the finale was allowed there, effectively making this season have a top 5 and a bottom 7. So we weren't watching Willow win this season, we were watching the production's picks either earn their time in the spotlight or be given it. That's what, to me, makes the entire season a filler season. We could have guessed the outcome of the season after just 2 episodes. Usually they do try to keep it a little vaguer, but this time they did not even try. Also, in order not to repeat the last season's format almost 1-to-1, they made the last competitive episode of the season a filler as well, keeping Angeria and saving Willow, to ensure that the obvious division, well, was not so obvious. And that's it. That's the video. Even though I find this season to have been a filler season, I still think that it was the best season since season 9. It goes without saying that everything I've talked about isn't a knock on the queens, but on the production that doesn't trust its queens anymore to make a good show, which we all know that they can do for sure. Thank you for watching.